What is up, people? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be doing my ranking on the saddest characters and moments in Sonic history. So like I always say before,
Come here. Get down there now. Yeah. Don't worry about what's on my feet. Give me something good to eat. Give me the like. I need the like. You did it. Good.
See, it wasn't that hard. Don't talk about that to anyone. Before I get started, whatever's the top liked comment about a Sonic video I should do next is what I'll do next. Also, in this video, we're not going to be covering the Archie comics. I'm not really a big fan of them, and then on top of that, I don't really like the characters in them. So starting off with number 15 is Metal Sonic. Even though Metal Sonic is just a robot, just like Eggman's other Robotniks, he has emotions, feelings, and emotions. He doesn't obviously cry, and he's still an evil character, which is why he's this low, but there's moments in the series where Sega tries to make you feel like you understand where Metal Sonic's coming from. Most of you have to understand that Metal Sonic was created to beat and be better than Sonic, so essentially he's supposed to replace Sonic. He's supposed to be Sonic. And in Sonic Heroes, which is the first game we ever get to see him talk, he says, "It's no use. Why can't I defeat you?
It's no use. But why can't I defeat you?"
And there's so many times where after he's just got done losing by either getting jumped or whatever, the game kinda makes you feel bad for him. And remember, he has emotions just like a human, and if you're made for a purpose and that purpose is not being fulfilled, then what are you even here for? Even in the Metal Virus arc, they showed us he still wants to be a real boy, like Pinocchio. But then again, he is still very much evil, and you won't feel bad for him when he wins, I'll tell you that. For number 14 is Sage. In Sonic Frontiers, Sage was created by Eggman to just be a regular AI, and then out of nowhere she gained a human appearance, and as she started watching the family bond between Sonic and his friends, she gained more sentience and more emotions. So as she's already starting to grow, she starts to look at Eggman as a father. Then eventually she has an emotional breakdown like a lot of people do, and she ends up sacrificing herself in a sad scene, which is super tragic because in the end, she says her last words to Sonic, which is, "Please look after father."
Please look after father.
She did end up getting revived, but the fact that she just learned what love is and had that little time of sentience and did all that for the world, come on. For number 13 is Elise. Because of how bad the mechanics of the game were, for many years, everything about this game was hated, including Elise. Even though Elise is a princess, her whole life she has to deal with trauma, pressure, and isolation all together. So there's this creature named Solaris who's strong enough to destroy a whole timeline, but anyways, its anger is sealed right inside of Elise, which is called Iblis. And if you know what happened to Silver the Hedgehog's timeline, if this creature breaks out, everyone is doomed. And so her father would tell her constantly that she can't cry or she'll release Iblis. So she already had the pressure of being a princess, and now that on top of it, so she has to lead a whole country by herself, show no emotion, and stay composed for her whole life. That is a horrible life. You know you're lonely when you're over here putting your tongue down a hedgehog's throat. Ew! For number 12 is Gerald Robotnik, Eggman's grandfather. The sad thing about Gerald Robotnik is that he dedicated his life up until the last days of saving humanity and his granddaughter Maria. What's tragic about Gerald's backstory is that he started Project Shadow to solely help and save his granddaughter who had a serious illness. But the only way he could start this project is if he had the funding, so he had to lie and try to make the strongest weapon for the government and also another alien race, which we'll get into later. So all at once, he's trying to create the strongest weapon in the universe and save his granddaughter. But eventually the government thought it was too dangerous, and instead of ending it normally, they actually ordered for everybody to be put to death. And honestly, it has to be the worst feeling ever to be arrested while your granddaughter was killed and you're spared, sitting in a cell, angry as heck, unwilling to do anything else but get revenge. Which leads us to number 11, Maria! First, her character design being a constant change is a sad topic for another day. Maria was like a little bit older than 10 years old and spent all of her life basically in space on this same colony arc for years, and her only friend was Shadow, whom she lost after getting shot in the back for no reason. And what's sad about her death is two things. One is that she was so caring for a creature that was just born that she sacrificed her own life for him. And she did it for the greater good of humanity. I know people way older than her that will never do that. Then in Sonic X Shadow Generations, it gets even sadder because when Shadow's trying to keep her in time so that she doesn't die, she's like, no, I don't want to stay here in time. Whatever is supposed to happen to me is meant to happen.
Shadow? No. I don't want to be frozen in one place in time.
You just live your life, Shadow, and keep being you, basically is what she said, which is just super heartbreaking and leaves Shadow running away in tears. It has to be so sad to see your best friend not even care about what's going to happen to them, and you can't do nothing about it. Which leads me to Shadow the Hedgehog for number 10. Shadow was created to be the ultimate life form, and knowing this, he still has to deal and cope with the fact that he still wasn't able to save his father figure and his best friend, and slowly regains all of these tragic memories after sitting in a pod for 50 years. So imagine being Shadow, who knows that Project Shadow was supposed to be about him curing and saving Maria, but also to be the ultimate weapon. So not only after losing everything does he have people trying to mimic and use him as a freaking destructive weapon and go against Maria's last wish and words to him, but he gets another chance when a whole timeline conundrum happens to save his family, and sadly gets turned down by them so that fate can take its course. That's tough. That's tough. Next is Gamma 102. If you don't know this story, you need to pick up the best Sonic adventure game. So just like Sage and Metal Sonic, Gamma at some point becomes a sentient being with emotions and feelings after talking to Amy Rose. And what he does in the first minutes of this is go out and put all of his brothers and family to death. He starts off by going across the land and traveling to each and every one of them and having a huge fight with them in a battle, and does get hurt throughout all of them, but still ends up taking them down and causing a huge explosion. Keep in mind, he was created to just find a puny little old frog with his brothers, but eventually started going to find them and put them out of their misery because he knew that there was no changing them. And not only that, he walked in on one of his brothers being tested on and worked on and turned into something dangerous and evil. And of course, he was different from the others. He had sentience and he didn't want to be evil, which Amy Rose even calls out. And so as he's flying away and he's thinking about his brothers, Amy and Eggman, he says, you know what, freak Eggman, I'm gonna save all the creatures and I'm gonna do better. And he deletes all of Eggman's programming and overrides it. And what you need to understand is while he's on this journey, he also sees what happened centuries ago to the Echidna tribe, and most importantly, the Chows. When people get too hungry with power, a lot of people die. He's seen the greediness that the Echidna tribe had in Eggman, and he looked at his brothers and also himself as chaotic chaos. He looked at his brothers as monsters that will eventually doom all if not stopped. And what makes his story even more tragic is that there are animals within inside of them that are powering them and need to be freed. And in the end, after freeing all of the animals and sacrificing even himself to let the last animal free, without even knowing, he was saving families. Gamma 102 didn't take no chance in saving lives that he never knew, but also taking the lives of the ones closest to him, which honestly is the reason why he ranks this high. For number 8, the Bio Lizard. Now you're probably like, Ty, what are you talking about? That thing was evil. He literally was a boss battle, and it's just a lizard. Who cares about those animals? Well, that's where you're wrong. In Sonic X Shadow Generations, there's a reason why Shadow says the Bio Lizard is a tortured soul and he was vowing to end its suffering. Because if you didn't know, in Gerald Robotnik's book, it's revealed that one of Maria's pet lizards were tested on to be the first prototype before Shadow to take the Chaos Crystals, and it got pumped eventually with so much Chaos energy it became unstable and so unsafe that Gerald couldn't do nothing with it but seal it in a room for 50 years. Now, I don't care if you're a human, dog, cat, or bird. You try staying 50 years in a room and see how bad it is. Just to get used as a weapon when found and destroyed with no redemption. And in your last moments, watch hedgehogs emo on you and hit the craziest WDAP in the world. I bet the shockwave from that DAP put him out of his misery. But honestly, all jokes aside, there's no doubt that the Biolizard's life was at least worse than Shadow's. Let's be honest. For number 7 is Chaos. Chaos was a creature at first that started out as a child, but then ultimately mutated into what it is today. And back then, even though it was just trying to protect its home, it was known as a monster. He was known as the god of the chows, the chow's protector. If anyone went near a chow and you seen dripping in the water, just know Chaos is watching the whole time. And what's sad about his life is that he witnessed his cute little family and his new friend Tikal just get completely put to death. And so his sadness and anger was so potent that day that after he annihilated the whole Echidna clan, they ended up calling the emeralds the Chaos Emeralds, and even made murals warning people to stay away from wherever Chaos is from. Chaos was even so heartbroken and angry over what happened that centuries later he decided he's gonna do it again and kill even more people. The cutscene, if you didn't know, doesn't show the full spectrum of what took in place that day and how many people actually died, because the game came out in the 90s, so of course they're not going to show all the chows on the screen and all the echidnas, but trust me, a lot of people died. The whole Echidna clan was wiped out. Next, for number 6 is Knuckles the Echidna. Knuckles the Echidna was taught for his whole life to protect the Master Emerald at all costs because it's too dangerous to fall in the wrong hands. And one day, after countless of times of trying to protect the Master Emerald and getting it stolen, getting it back, out of nowhere, the thing broke into pieces. And while he goes on an adventure searching for the shards and also being manipulated by Eggman, he learns a lot more about his past and what actually happened to his clan, the truth. He learned that not everyone in his clan were so good, and the reason why he's been alone for so long. He's seen the death of the chows, the ones he still protects to this day, the death of his people in 4K. And to this day, Knuckles gets so lonely that the Master Emerald has to literally at times give him a purpose, give him hope. It shows him his accomplishments and the friends that he's made along the way, and he feels happy now that he has friends, but it doesn't erase the stain that's already been left. He's seen the monster that made him the loner he is today. He grew up with no family, no one to teach him how to be smart. That's why he seems so knuckleheaded. For years he had no one but himself and the creatures that are also left behind from the old civilizations on Angel Island that disappeared one day. Which brings us to Tikal, who's seen it all. Tikal the Echidna is an ancient ancestor of Knuckles. She was the granddaughter of the ex-leader of the Echidna tribe, which was her grandmother, and she tried her hardest to warn Pachacamac to not invade the temple where the Chaos Emeralds were. She tried warning them against their greed for power, but Pachacamac wasn't trying to listen, which honestly I can't blame him for at the end of the day, because he does need to protect his tribe, because as you can see, something was going on in Angel Island where all of the civilization was getting taken out by something or someone, and eventually that thing was going to come towards the Knuckles tribe, but sadly something else took them out. But anyways, Tikal witnessed it all and travels throughout space and time to help Knuckles even to this day, and literally watches over Knuckles as a guardian angel, seeing him be there alone and seeing all the other destruction and all the other fights and deaths all in the Sonic series. She's always there. For number 4 is Silver the Hedgehog. Everyone already knows his story. His whole timeline got destroyed. Parents gone, friends gone. He eats apples. because that's what he was eating when there was nothing to eat. In his timeline, Iblis was released and destroying everything, the anger of Solaris, and every time he defeated it, it would just keep coming back because he couldn't seal it away. He had no answer to it. Then when he was finally able to seal it away, he couldn't seal it away, and then eventually lost one of his best friends that was helping him throughout his journey. But now he has to spend the rest of his life going from and to the past to save and help his timeline because these idiots don't wanna end Eggman. But all jokes aside, not only is Silver one of the youngest hedgehogs, so he's more naive and also has a harder time dealing with his feelings, but he has the most heroism. He can't willingly go back to the past on his own right now at the moment, and what happens is a portal just randomly pops up in front of him and he just goes to the past. So his life is pretty tragic and he's been through a lot of events because of the past. For number 3 is the Ancients. In Sonic Frontiers, the Ancients were a civilization that predates everyone. The Ancients were an alien race that had the Chaos Emeralds first and brought it to the world where Sonic and his friends live today because of the Master Emerald. But mainly because their whole planet was destroyed and their people that were left and survived were fleeing to another world. And having your planet being destroyed already puts you above like 90% of this list because they were devastated, as they should. And so eventually when they finally got to a new planet, things were seeming like they were getting better as they were rebuilding, but sadly, they ended up being found by the same people that destroyed their planet and being all annihilated. And all that lives on of them is their memories that are all stored into Cocos, and that's it. But there's a story that's even sadder than that, and that brings us to number 2, Chip. Chip, believe it or not, you can call him an ancient deity god. If you didn't know, he is part of the Gaia Scrolls. Basically what he is the guardian of Earth. He's the living embodiment of light, day, and rebirth. Every time Dark Gaia awakes, him and Light Gaia, who is Chip, go into a huge battle that ends up destroying everything, and right after that battle's over, rebirth begins to happen, the world is reshaped, and that's when Chip is reset and put into slumber for 100 more years and forgets what happened. And it's literally a constant cycle that's been happening forever. What's tragic about Chip's story is that he has no free will. He can't eat ice cream like he can and does in Sonic Unleashed. He is a main force that has to exist and has to do its job, which is why it's so sad when he says goodbye to Sonic, because in the next 100 years when Sonic is dead and gone, he's gonna be there again doing the same thing. Any friends he makes along the way, he'll lose and forget, unlike Sonic, whom he gave that bracelet to so that he never forgets him. Now for number 1 is a character that a lot of you people don't even know, and you're about to learn real ball. His name is Void. Please don't get lost while I'm explaining this, but basically, Void is a divine, godlike being. And in Sonic Shuffle, he was a villain up until you learn why he was and does what he does. It turns out Void is a split of the god of imaginary world, dreams, and the 4th dimension named Illumina. And when the other half, Lumina and Void, fuse together, they create Illumina. And the reason why Sonic and his friends are called there to stop Void by Lumina is because in the Sonic universe, Void is the personification and the embodiment of loneliness, sadness, and despair. And near the ending of the game, the characters talk about this after they learn more about Void.
Void. Anger, sadness, despair, and emptiness. Aren't dreams born because everyone has these feelings? Don't these feelings make our dreams even stronger? Void. He was probably part of the Precious Stone. He was part of a feeling that is necessary for dreams to come true.
Lumina, can't you accept Void for what he is? Dreams probably can't exist without it.
They start to talk about how he's the reason why everyone feels these feelings and has these feelings of loneliness, despair, and sadness, because he's the embodiment of it. How can you be sadder than the concept itself? You can't be sadder than Void if he is sadness itself. On top of that, he's loneliness and sadness. And Illumina starts to feel more of her one-sided, which is the void side of herself. She starts to feel loneliness and sadness. Of course, when you're looking at dreams all your life and you're in the fourth dimension by yourself, of course you're gonna feel those things. So she ended up splitting, and then Void started going crazy and trying to destroy the dream world itself with the precious stone and stuff. And Sonic had to save the day, but now you know Ball. And that's all to this ranking. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, because a lot of you aren't subscribed and I'm just trying to hit the next milestone. Anyways, I spent a lot of time editing this, so hope you guys can share it at least. But yeah, love you people. God bless. Peace. Cheers.